So just a little overview of today. We're going to have menu matters and inspiration as we always do. We love recipe development and menus at the Sonic Partners. That really is the heart and soul of a lot of what we do for our schools and want to be able to share with you. We're going to share some doing something good things that we've seen out in our schools and that have been shared with us. So we're really excited to share those things with you. We'll have an admin roundup section. So we'll go over some important items when it comes to the administration of your program and just a couple of highlight items if you have been selected for administrative review. Do not panic, we have it covered. And we also have a special guest today as well that we will see at the end of today's webinar. So I'm going to pass it to Marge to go over menu matters and inspiration.
Great. Well, thanks, Sarah, and happy fall to everybody, or what feels like a winter day. So when we think about this time of year, especially today, we think warming up our menus with some pick two combos. This kind of mimics what kids see out in, casual dining where they're offered options. And I know when people think about soup, they think time consuming and complex. It doesn't have to be. We have quite a few really simple soup recipes. So I put a few on here. This cheesy chicken enchilada soup was shown at the GFS show. We thought was really good. It uses commodity cheese sauce, is really simple to put together. Likewise, a baked potato soup, minestrone soup. We have several others, including like a chicken tortilla soup, a pumpkin turkey bean soup. So if you need soup recipes, let us know. Can we share some simple ones with you? Would you like more complex, more scratch ones? We can do that. There's not a lot of CN or child nutrition labeled soups, but there is a chili, tomato soup and chicken noodle soup. So maybe what you want to do is consider putting one of those already prepared soups on your menu with a scratch soup. And then if you pair that with salad in a sandwich, I should say salad or a sandwich, that makes a reimbursable meal. And most of us are already doing salad sandwiches. We have recipes so that they're a smaller portion so that it doesn't break the budget when you think of about a pick two option. So again, think about this as a way to get kids excited, offer some seasonal food items on the menu with some new soup and salad sandwich combos. Also coming up in November is National Sandwich Day. Of course, we all have sandwiches on our menus, but I think these types of days are a great way to try something new. So I think the grilled ham and cheese sandwich that uses actually French toast as the bread is really exciting and a new twist on an old favorite. Kind of reminds you like a Monte Cristo kind of sandwich. So that's an idea, or a banh mi sandwich, which if you haven't heard of a banh mi, I know kids certainly have. It's in a lot of popular restaurants now. Kind of a banh mi is a Vietnamese sandwich. And really what makes the sandwich is a real simple kind of pickled vegetable slaw, if you will, that goes on top that uses shredded carrots, shredded cucumber, and just a vinegar to pickle it, and usually has some sprigs of cilantro on there to give that kind of Vietnamese flavor. So that might be a way to try a new sandwich on your menu on National Sandwich Day. November 5th is Chinese Takeout Day. So again, something we often have on our menu is some Asian food inspiration, but these are some new things that you might want to try. This Asian noodle chicken salad is really simple, has those Asian flavors with a dressing. This would be even something that maybe if you have a produce bar, want to offer it as a try on the produce bar and see if kids take it, how they like it. And then once you assess how they like it, it might be something at a later point you want to put on your menu more regularly. These chicken and dumplings that are available, really simple, kind of heat and serve item, but when you can put some kind of Asian dressing on them, that can make it fun. Of course, there's a whole grain fortune cookie that can be served to make the meal extra special. And I love these little takeout containers as a way just to present the items to make it a little extra special. GFS has those. I think they're only like 10 cents. So that can be something to do for that special Chinese takeout day. And then I'm going to send it over to Sarah, our resident vegetarian, who'd like to talk about ways to make beans more exciting.
Thanks, Marge. So as I've been going out into my schools, I have seen some very unappealing beans being served to the kids. And I know in general, beans are not super kid friendly. I know that they're never going to replace potatoes or corn or even green beans. But I definitely think there are some ways that you can level up your legume game. So think about some fun things like maybe this chickpea cookie dough. We made this as a team over the summer and taste tested it. And guys, I'm not telling you this just because I eat plant-based, but it did legitimately taste like chocolate chip cookie dough. So I think that's a really fun way to be able to serve that to the kids. And we just put little graham crackers or even apple slices with that. So I think that could be a fun way to do beans. Also think about other ways to use those chickpeas. So of course, when you order, you're going to get 6 number 10 cans, right? That's a heck of a lot of hummus, right? So maybe you use some of those chickpeas and you flavor them and roast them and do like a crispy chipotle chickpea to make them crunchy and spicy as a fun little side to try with the kids. Also, Gina and I were having a conversation and talking about how much of the Taco Bell pintos and cheese that we ate in our younger years. So we did make a knockoff recipe as well that we would be happy to share with any of you. Again, just thinking outside of the box. Obviously, kiddos are not going to eat beans if you literally open a can of black beans and put them in a pan and just serve them. I certainly eat beans almost daily, and I'm never just opening a can and eating them like naked out of the can. That is just not appealing. So if we want the kids to eat them, I think we need to continue to try to give them to the kids in a little different way. So just a thought to maybe not make that be so frustrating, because I know it's very frustrating to open those cans of beans and then put it right into the garbage. So just a little thought. We do have other recipes as well. Some soups that utilize beans. You can add extra beans into your chili this time of the year, as Marge was talking about with the pick 2 options. So again, just a little thought process to maybe level up our legume game. All right, and of course you can always, if you like any of these recipes, or if you are a Pasonic client and you use Healthy Pro, you can always send us a ticket at support@pplllc.info. We would love to be able to add these things to your menu. They would even be just a fun try day so that you don't have to commit to putting them on your menu, but we could still make sure that they show up on the parent and student view on my school menus, that you're having a fun little try day with the kiddos. All right, so now I'm going to pass it to Tina to talk about some caught doing something good we've seen in our schools.
Hey, everybody. So as we all know, October 13th was Apple Crunch Day, and we had lots of schools that went in and did things. I have actually some schools that are still participating in it and doing things even this week and next week because they couldn't do everything all in one day. So, but this is my little Jess from Woodridge, our manager at the middle school there, and she's been doing the Apple Crunch for several years, and every year she goes all above and beyond to do what she did. So this was her and her group, and they actually did it Wednesday because poor Jess had to go to Florida. Her house in Florida was hit by Hurricane Ian, so she had to leave, so she couldn't be there. It's the first time she never did it on the actual day, so she was a little upset, but she still went above and beyond. So when the next page, we have all different kinds of schools that did participate in well. We had our little ones that even went in there and got in there and took a bite of that apple, to show. We have the kids here all crunching into that apple. We even had some staff members that I had from Fairview Park, I found, that was in there getting involved in this. And as Jess did, and Marge is going to put in the chat for us, well, she did a little video, and we talk about doing something good and what's more important than putting this out there so everybody sees it. So this is a perfect thing to get, put into your social media on days like this, these little events like that. And Jess they did a video of them getting the kids to crunch all at once and getting out there. And I know we use the impact group on a lot of stuff, but she just did had her little one of the other workers take a video of it. So it just shows you that you don't have to have a professional video do it. You can have just somebody in your cafeteria take a video of yours doing it and get it out there. But the important thing is to get it out there on your social media. Get it out there so people see what we're doing. We are I really truly feel we are like hidden gems that people don't know about. And the only way they can find out is if we put it out there. So Apple Crunch Day, like I said, that's a wonderful celebration that does every year. If you've never done it, I hope you guys get involved, because again, not only is it fun, it's also promoting our local farmers and stuff in there. And Jess got her apples this year from Quarry Hill. But use your local farmers, get it out there.
All right, so here's a picture of, this is a bistro box, kind of a brunch for lunch style bistro box that one of my elementaries in Stowe Monroe Falls at Echo Hills. Dara put this together. She took the muffin mix, the whole grain muffin mix that you can buy off of GFS, put a tiny bit of vanilla extract in there, and then put some sprinkles on the top. And they did kind of a fun little funfetti brunch for lunch bistro box. So there is also vanilla yogurt in there and some cheese cubes. And then the student selected the baby carrots and apple slices to have with their lunch. So just kind of a fun, different way to be able to think about bistro boxes. Again, another easy grab and go item. And the kids in my elementaries actually really love these. There are actually quite a few days that these actually are higher pick for the kiddos. They do pre-order in the morning, and the numbers for these are higher than whatever the main option is. So just another way that you can think of to help with participation. I know a lot of times this is kind of the cutesy little stuff that comes in lunch boxes from home. So it was us trying to think, how can we get those kids through the lunch line and give them something similar and maybe a little bit extra, because they probably wouldn't get all those additional fruits and vegetables in there that we offer. So let's talk about turkey. It is almost turkey time. My mom is already asking me what we're having for Thanksgiving and who's having what, and bringing what to the festivities. So if you were not able to get your turkeys from GFS, just a little note, try to order them. There are some available. We did have a school that was able to purchase them. So if you want some of that commodity turkey, you can get on there and try and see if there are any cases left over. But if you can't get them, Creation Gardens is actually providing whole free range turkeys. So that is an option, so that you're still able to have your holiday festivity meal if you would like that. So some easy ways when you're ordering from Creation Gardens that you can meet that $100 minimum. I know that's been the question that's been asked as we move over into using Creation Gardens as the new local food supplier. So they did a couple of really nice brochures that you could easily print or just have on your desktop to reference back to and how simple it is. So for this one, for Fall Fun, they show that if you just order a case of Gala apples, 1 case of Empire apples, and a case of Macintosh, you're already at $112.50. So really hitting that $100 minimum mark is actually pretty easy. They also did one specifically for Thanksgiving, so you could get a whole fresh turkey, you could order your 5 pounds of sweet potatoes, and you could get a case of Gala apples as well, and you're at $103.78. And for most buildings, unless you're in a smaller elementary, you're probably going to need more than 1 case of those things. So again, really easy to hit that $100 minimum. And also they did a cute little salsa taste off. So these are some value add items that you could think about adding onto your menu to be able to support local. You can do the shag bark chips with the KHI salsa. We did test this at our back to school boot camp in August, and it is fabulous. I ate lots of salsa and this was very good. And as well as some honey apple, their honey apple salsa, which was also fabulous. So again, this puts you at $133.41. So this is just a really easy way to show that you can hit that $100 minimum quite easily. Even if you're in a smaller building, you would probably at least need one case. So you're easily going to hit that minimum. So now a little change of events today so that you don't have to listen to me for the entire hour. I will spare you, and I'm going to pass it over to Gina to give our admin roundup.
Hi, everybody. Admin Roundup, safety tips and tricks. Make sure you guys have your illness logs ready and available, and just go over and make sure that you refresh the information on that with everybody in your kitchens, just so that they know when they should stay home and when they should stay away, so we don't get anybody else sick. And then remember your hand washing rituals, because it's cold and flu season and we don't want anybody to get sick. So just remember, sing your little song and get it in there for at least 26 seconds. And then the ODE updates and compliance. Make sure that if you were notified about having an AR this year, that you are completing your Section 700 resource management portion. Make sure you're getting in contact with your business managers or your treasurers to make sure that they're getting you the information that you need so you can get those questions answered and done before November 1st. Verification is open. That opened October 1st. And you should be at that midway point now where you're going through and sending your second notices out to people that you haven't heard from yet, and make sure that you're getting all the information back that you requested from your sample set. Remember, November 15th is when it has to be done, so don't forget that. And then if you have SCA funding, make sure that you're checking that and making sure that you have what you need for that. If you need to get any information for that, or if you need help with it, we can help you out with that.
And just to check, to let you guys know, Maureen did sit in on an ODE call last week, I believe it was. And so there will be a second and third round of CSA funding coming. That is going to be based on October numbers. So that's why it's so important that you get kids to participate. You're making sure you're claiming all of your kids and claiming them appropriately. So, and that likely both rounds 2 and 3 will come sometime around January or February.
Okay, and then the administrative review process, make sure that you complete Section 700 first and foremost, because that's really the one that has the hard deadline for having that information in. Financial management, again, get together with your treasurer, get your financial detail report, and make sure you have all of your revenue and expenses. And you can start working on the other sections. It's easier probably to stay ahead than to be behind. Be sure to validate before you're moving on to any next section, because then it'll show that it's still hanging out there. And you can always go back and change answers or modify them if you need to. If you still do need help, we have a step-by-step video library specific to ARs that's out there. If you need any help with that, we're here to help coach you through that as needed. And now it's back to Tina for the keys to KPI.
All right, so this is the fun part. You always hear me say, concentrate on our numbers. So this is what we're going to do, kind of a series as we go through this school year, because we have had so many issues in the past couple of years of everything changing. We want to kind of remind you to be aware of your KPI series, your key performance indicators. So I'm going to do this every month. We'll do some kind of little tip about what to be looking for. So this month's tip, we're working on salaries and benefits. I'm not going to go into it a lot, just because right now we're still trying to get back into the swing of things, get everything due. But like the end of October is right around the corner, literally next week, where I don't know, I'm still looking for July, but October is almost done. So, right now is the perfect time to do it. October is the perfect month because it's a full month. There's very few days that we're off. We're fully staffed. Our kids are here. So that's why kind of October is always, it seems to be always when the most enrollment is too. So this is the full month participation. Check it out. This is a perfect time to look into your meals per labor hour, figure out, are we staffed correctly, right fit our staffing. If we're a little off, if we're showing, you've done your meals per labor hour and you're running a little low, as we knew was going to possibly happen from participation from last year to this year. We had a feeling that was going to drop a little bit. So how do we fix this? How do we get us back? Heat and serve, is a little bit more costly. If we got people and we want to save some money and we have the bodies, let's go back to doing a little bit more scratch cooking. Let's go back to cutting up our carrots, cutting up our fruits, and vegetables. Don't be just getting the prepackaged stuff, because we want to keep these bodies busy and keep and not to mention, I hate to say, but when you get a fresh scratch cook, you make that fresh salad and you chop it up and it just smells so good and everything looks so pretty. Our participation is going to go up. People are going to come in if we have these items that are very appealing. And unfortunately, sometimes being packaged, as much as I'm thankful for them all during COVID, right now we need to figure out how to keep our participation up and keep our bodies working, our staff members working. Another way to do it is make the environment fun. Think about different things, celebrating. We have a little bit more time. Maybe now we're decorating our kitchens. We're having theme days, spirit weeks. Get out there and let the kids feel let the kids feel that you guys are as excited to be there and want to be there. Play music. That's one of the things I love. We have music going in the kitchens at all the time, keeps us going. And I swear, the faster the music goes, the faster the hands go. That's how I always feel. So, kind of think about that. Different ways that we're going to keep our participation up, keep our positive energy going, and look at our numbers. We know it's going to be drastic from last year, past 2 years actually. So hopefully now we're starting to even keel, get ourselves back out, and get us into a normal playing field that we can start looking. So again, we want to look at our KPI, analyzing our staff, our meal equivalent, the meals per labor hour. A lot of people, I know you guys have probably seen the slide and this, 1 lunch is equal to 1 meal. 3 breakfasts are going to equal to 2 meals. 3 snacks equals 1 meal. And your a la carte total divided by your meal price, your paid meal price. This is a very important key. A lot of people forget this when figuring out their meals per labor hour, and it is such an important part in there, because if you don't include that and you are in a district that does supply, does rely a lot on your a la carte items, or your middle school, your high school, if you don't include that a la carte price in there, it's going to make your meals per labor down very low. So it may show you only as having 10 meals per labor hour. You put your a la carte pricing in there, and it could make you up to 18 meals per labor hour, because now you're including all that extra stuff, which does include your labor. You're actually working to fill these shelves, to make your a la carte items. So you want to make sure that that's all included in your total. So again, your total labor per hour, your total labor hours is your meals. Don't forget your meals plus your meal equivalents. And this will give you want to run anywhere between 18 to 24 meals per labor hour if you're staffed correctly. Last year we were running 46 meals, 46 meals per labor hour. This year we may be dropping. So we don't want to go below that 18. You may run a little bit, 12, 14, you're going to think, hey, we got a little bit more bodies here. Let's see what we can do to get to make our participation increase. So just be aware of that. And if you need any questions, if you have any questions on it, feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, Tina. All right, so now we should have our special guest, Mr. Phil Herman, with us. Hi, Phil, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today. We're super excited to be celebrating National Farm to School Month in the month of October.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here again. It's great to be back together. I see some familiar names and faces from our back to school kickoff event. So it's great to be together again.
Yes, awesome. So we're hoping to continue with elevating the role of appreciation that it has in the work that we do. Last week was actually National School Lunch Week. And as we've been talking about during this webinar, it's National Farm to School Month. We see our school success, but sometimes we know we're our own best kept secret, right? As Tina was saying, share out what you're doing, because a lot of times people really don't have any idea of all of the good things that we are doing in our schools. What advice would you give school staff members to help them with special celebrations and themes and sharing that out with their communities?
Yeah, so, and this does tie really closely to appreciation and to appreciology and the kinds of things that we were talking about at the back to school event. What I would encourage any kitchen staff to do is to spend a little bit of time talking together with one another about what are those things that we appreciate. As we think about our, the National School Lunch Week and National Farm to School Month, I think we want to be listening. So what are those things that we really appreciate about farm to school? What are the things that we really appreciate about just having school lunches? And so we're going to be getting into staff. We're going to be getting into nutrition. We're going to be getting into the joy of food. We're going to be getting into local partnerships. All of those things are going to surface through those conversations. Just make a list and then say, how do we tell that story? I absolutely love what Tina was saying. She said, just get it out there on social media, right? So
Yeah.
and there are we can continue to talk about some of those methods to do that, but it's really important, not only for the sake of the culture of a team and a kitchen in a school, to identify those things that we're appreciative about, but it's also really important to building, in essence, what is our brand. So all of our schools have a brand, and we define a brand as an experience, an interaction, an emotional connection. An experience, an interaction, emotional connection. And so as we think about celebrating and promoting those months, let's think about what is the brand, what is the experience, the interaction, or the emotional connection that people have to us, to our kitchens, to our food service, and then how do we capture examples of that and share it with others. So I would really encourage people to think about, what are we grateful for? How are we promoting our brand, that experience, the interaction, the emotional connection? And by the way, if it's a bad experience or a bad interaction or a bad emotional connection, we have to think about that. We have to correct that as our students are coming through our kitchens. But then how do we tell that? How do we best tell that story?
I love that. And I was just in a building this morning before we got on with you all, and I actually have a new gal in one of my kitchens, and she actually is a mom in the district. And she was saying, you guys are doing such a great job with all of the fresh fruits and vegetables that you're doing. And I had no idea any of this was happening. So to your point, we've got to be able to get this information out to our communities, because she was like, the food here is far better than what I would think school lunch actually is, but nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
You're your own best kept secret. So in the social media and marketing world, we hear this term evergreen quite a bit. What tips for programs might you give them to have some steady content that they can give to share out? Like maybe like a menu Monday or some kind of food fact Friday. Any other ideas when it comes to evergreen content?
Sure. And I think one of the things we want to think about is, so when we're talking about social media and getting information out and evergreen content, how do we capture some of that evergreen content? So there are a few things that we think about. First of all, capture content so it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to do this every single day.
Right.
Make some meals, make some displays, spend some time creating a series of meals, and then take pictures of them. And you do not need, Tina made this point earlier, you don't necessarily need a professional to come in and do that. Here's a little tip. If any of you have an iPhone, that portrait mode is amazing. So most of us think of using portrait mode for taking pictures of faces, right? But what does it do when we take a picture of a face that's 2 to 3 feet away? It makes the face really clear, the subject, and then it blurs the background and it looks like a professional photo. And we can do the exact same thing with displays in our kitchens. So put it in portrait mode, use your iPhone, put it in portrait mode, take the photo of a particular meal, a particular display, a particular line with all the different foods in there before it's been touched. You know, when it's just perfect, like just right when it's all perfect.
Yep.
And take as many of those photos as we can and put them in a photo library, because evergreen, you can use those over and over and over and over again, depending on what story you're trying to tell. So people will not necessarily remember that it's the same picture that was used 3 months ago. And so part of evergreen content is creating an opportunity to capture a bunch of photos and then have easy access to those photos to be able to be used in social media posts as you go to tell that story about things that you're grateful for, as you go to tell that story about how amazing your staff is, you go to tell that story about what your partnerships are, or you go to tell that story about the benefits of nutritious food. You have some pictures to go back to. The other thing that we would encourage is spend, again, it doesn't have to be a long time, but think it out. And if you just want to just take a paper calendar and just say, what could we do on every Friday? Because what happens is people have good intentions about sharing Fun Fact Friday or something on a Menu Monday. But then the hard part is your schedule's busy on Monday, your schedule's busy on Friday. And then you're like, I just can't handle one more thing right now. I just can't think about what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip it this week. So spend some time and have some fun with it and say, let's just post all those ideas that we can and let's just get them down on a calendar, create a little content calendar for every Friday. What are those fun facts we want to share? Or what do we want to create on Monday? And map those out. And I would say start slow, but be consistent. So if you create one of those fun ways to share and have fun with it, if you're going to highlight a person of your staff each week, that's great. But have fun with that. But as you create that content, make sure that you're consistent with it. It does not have to be something that's every single day, but if you commit to doing something on Fridays, make sure that you have it every single Friday. And then people become trained to realize I can rely on this every single Friday. I know it's coming from our food service, and I actually look forward to that. And I'm watching my social media for the post.
I love those ideas. And I know as a team, we talk about that as well, because sometimes we go into buildings. Tina and Gina can attest to this, that they were in a building last week intending to visit, take pictures, see the staff, and they were so short-staffed. They both put on aprons and hairnets and ended up helping serve for the day. So that stuff does happen. So then would help that to not be so daunting, because I think that is the hardest thing about social media. None of us are doing this to be influencers or make millions. So again, if you are just consistent, that does help share the story and not make it so overwhelming that it has to be something that's part of your everyday and then becomes too much for you. So how do you think that a school's mission statement can translate into their marketing brand versus something that only lives within a handbook that nobody really knows about within the district?
Yeah, I love that question. Whether it's a mission statement, or a lot of your schools have portraits of a graduate or a portrait of a learner, or they have core values, whether any of those pieces that are going on in your school, I think you can look at the language that is that are in those documents or on the website, wherever your school district hosts them, and then really begin to ask yourself, if it's empowering all children to succeed as a mission statement, how are we doing that? What is our role in empowering students to succeed? And if any of you say, I don't know, we just provide lunches. What? No,
Yeah.
That's not it at all. First of all, we're providing nutrition absolutely necessary for students to be able to focus in a classroom. We're providing a welcoming environment to students that might not have a welcoming environment at home, but they come to school and they breathe the sigh of relief when they're in our buildings as opposed to when they leave our buildings. We have the connections and the interactions that happen not only with us in our kitchens, but during lunch and during breakfast for our students in school. We are setting them up for success. And there are all sorts of statements about collaboration, about aspiring to achieve. And so how are we creating those? What opportunities are we creating within our kitchens, within our food service, in order to make that mission a reality? And again, this should be a fun activity, because in all reality, every one of us in a school district helps create that mission or create that experience. Just I was talking about the brand before, the experience, the interaction, the emotional connection. How are we creating that within the ways that we're interacting with students? And then again, just tell that story, tell it in social media, tell it in a little newsletter paragraph, put up a sign and say, here's how we live this in our kitchen. So as students are coming in, say, are you living the mission today? Make it fun and interactive between the students that we serve, the staff members that come through our kitchens. And then because we're having fun, capture some of that to help tell that story.
I love that. And I know we had a professional development day and we had a lady come in and she actually had the ladies, her challenge was to take the school mission statement and add on to it what exactly food services mission statement was. So if it was, for excellent, to provide excellent education to the kids, then some of the ladies wrote through providing balanced meals to the kiddos or providing a fun environment with balanced food or nutritious food in the cafeteria. So I know that was a really fun way for the ladies to be able to feel involved and realize that they really do play a part in the overall day-to-day of kids and the whole education system as a whole. Like you said, I mean, there are a lot of kids that this is maybe the only food that they have access to, maybe the only hot meals that they have access to. And again, we don't know what kind of environments these kids come from. So making it a fun environment. Gina and I were in a kitchen today and they had music playing, and because the mission of that kitchen is the ladies want to enjoy their job, but they want to feed the kids. They want to make the kids come in. The kids love hearing the music that's playing and to talk with the ladies. The ladies are really good with interacting with them. So again, I do think it is really important for us all to play a part, right? Because we are a part of the experience that kiddos get to have as they go throughout their school day.
Yeah, Sarah, I think it's such a good point. And one of the early ways that if anyone wants to do that is just look it up. Just look up what your school's mission is. Look up, do they have a learner profile or a portrait of a graduate? Do they have core values? And then go through that exercise and say, and it can be 5 minutes with the team standing up in the morning saying, can we think, here's one of our district's core values. Did you know this was a core value? How do we live that? And not only does it help reinforce the core value of the district or the mission or the vision of the district, it also will enhance your work together and ultimately creates that positive environment and gives you some story to tell. Here we are again, making sure that we live our core values within our district. Here's how we do it. Take a picture of the group standing up together every morning. Every Monday morning, we explore one of our core values and make sure that we're living that within our kitchen. And so all of this works together. Have fun in your work, tie it to a greater mission, capture that and tell that story.
I love that. Love that so much. Thank you so much for your time today, Phil. We really appreciate you being able to take time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us on this Wednesday webinar.
You are welcome. It's always a pleasure to be together.
All right, so I just have a couple additional resources that we want to share with you all. So we do have our cookbook. So just so that you know, we're in the 3rd edition. We would be more than happy to share that out with any of you. Marge is probably dropping a link in the chat, I'm sure, for you to be able to access that. We really do thoughtfully think through what goes into that cookbook and trying to make sure that it's recipes that we all use in our districts and that we know that are kid tested and kid approved. So it's not us sitting in an ivory tower in the Masonic office picking the most complicated recipes. We do try to keep in mind staffing and availability of food and just how much it takes to make these items. So we do really do a really good job, I think, putting together a really good cookbook full of awesome recipes for your kiddo. So please, if you have any interest in any of the additions, just let us know or click the links that Marge is putting in the chat. The USDA actually released a new foods database. So if you're interested in that, that is also now available. I was looking around. It is much more user-friendly than the past version and looks a bit more modern. So maybe a great little place, again, that you can check out for some information on all things USDA foods. We thank you guys so much. We got done a little early. Our content was a little lighter. Typically our October What's Up Wednesdays do tend to be a little lighter in content, as we're all kind of in the midst of getting into the groove of school, and now we're kind of in the process of verification, all that fun stuff that we haven't had to deal with for a couple of years. Again, as Gina said, if you are up for administrative review or just trying to keep all of your ducks in a row, even if it's not your administrative review year, which as a past auditor, I would recommend. Maureen made a really good point. She said, it's kind of like the tidying up before the in-laws come. That's really not the process that I would recommend when you're going through your administrative review. I wouldn't wait until your year. So if you get into KERS and you're like, hey, I don't got to worry about this until school year 25-26, I've got time, right? I would go ahead and start getting back into the habit of keeping really good records and keeping them very organized. So then you don't have to do the panicked cleanup before the in-laws come or before the state auditor comes to visit you. So that would be my recommendation. Again, we will share I am putting together AR, so administrative review resource videos that are in smaller chunks. They're around 5 minutes each, to go through the different parts of the administrative review to make it seem more digestible, and so that you don't get so overwhelmed. Even if it's not your AR year, that would be a great resource for you to go ahead and start looking at how to get back into putting paperwork together and keeping track of those sorts of things. Again, for all this supply chain assistance fundings, we do have to keep track of what we're using that money for. So that's another exercise in keeping good paperwork. So those are just some suggestions as we move into this fall/winter time of the year. But thank you all so much for joining us today, and we will see you all in November.